Pat Forde, the voice of college football. He covers it for Sports Illustrated. He was at the national title game, still in Indianapolis. Well, what did you make of last night's festivities, Pat?
Cathartic night for the Bulldogs and their fans, waiting 41 years to win a title and having to go through their nemesis to do it, and looking like Stetson Bennett maybe gave the game away on that fluke play, and then they rally after that and dominate the rest of the game. And I thought they were the best team all season, and they proved it when they had to. So it was a good game. I think that it was competitive. It's always interesting, I think, to see somebody challenge Alabama like that. And I enjoyed the evening.
How would the season have been different if we had a 12-team playoff? Or would it have been different?
We would have had a much more interesting postseason, first of all, where you would have had people like Kenny Pickett and Kenneth Walker III play their bowl games or their playoff games because they would have been in. You would have had campus games that were part of the playoff. So all that would have been good. And then the final result still would have been Georgia and Alabama beating the snot out of everybody and then beating the snot out of each other in the championship game.
What's the holdup right now for the expansion with the playoffs?
The holdup is posturing, ego, maneuvering. The ACC is a holdup. The Big Ten, to a degree, is a holdup. The Pac-12 is still trying to prop up the Rose Bowl. The reasons why don't make sense to me. These guys are getting paid a lot of money to figure this stuff out, and they're not doing it. And that is one of the things, a couple of things that came out of it, Dan, yesterday is one, some of the commissioners are definitely losing patience with this. I mean, Bob Bowlesby of the Big 12 came out just blowing up everybody. But then the presidents of these schools that are, running the playoff management committee are fed up with the commissioners too, and basically told them, we'll get this done if you guys can't. So I think that we're kind of reaching a point where things have to happen.
Help me understand this. This is the first paragraph on ESPN.com. The leaders of the college football playoff again failed to come up with an agreement about expanding the current 14 field, but they didn't entirely rule out the possibility it could still happen before the end of the current 12-year contract, which runs through 2025. When I reported this a little while ago, Pat, I got beat up by you college football insiders that they were trying to speed this up. They from somebody who's involved in this, said they were looking at 2023. Is there a chance that we're going to have this done? And I had the insiders saying, hey, there's a contract. Don't you understand the contract? And I thought, money breaks contracts here, kids. Is there a chance that this might not have to wait until 2025?
Money always breaks contracts. You are correct. And it could be. I mean, it could be that there's this brinksmanship going on of like, we're not budging until the last possible minute. Then, okay, we'll budge. It's not out of the question because, as you said, they are leaving scads of money on the table if you don't break the contract and renegotiate this and expand the thing. So the tendency or the instinct of these people is to always go for more money. So, yes, I think there's a chance that they can still do this.
Jim Harbaugh to the NFL or a pay raise?
Well, I know this. We sure haven't heard a single word from anybody in Ann Arbor tamping down any talk about him in the NFL. Nobody has stepped up to say, no, there's nothing to it. Jim's happy to be here. He's going to stay a long time. A couple of schools of thought there. Yes, one, is this negotiation and leverage, or the other school, and some of the stuff that I heard in South Florida when I was there for the Orange Bowl, was that he was legitimately offended by the pay cut that he took after last year. And he does enjoy the NFL and would be happy to go back, that he kind of got his job done in terms of resurrecting Michigan. He hasn't been a long-term one-place guy. I think he tends to wear himself out and wear the people out around him. And this timing might be right now.
Yeah, that's what I was told. And, I know that Stephen Ross said, the owner of the Dolphins, hey, I don't want to take him away from my alma mater. But if you know that Jim Harbaugh might want to go, and maybe the Raiders, then Stephen Ross can say, well, he does want it. You're not taking him away from his alma mater. He's leaving his alma mater. And then maybe the Dolphins are in the mix here. But I know there were reporters who refuted that yesterday. The impact on with Deion Sanders on college football is what?
It's pretty electrifying. I mean, this is a guy who did a lot of electrifying things as a player, and he is right now as a coach. I mean, for Jackson State to be getting some of the players they have gotten is a absolute game changer, eye opener for everybody who said, the power in college football will always be collected in the hands of a few. Maybe not. That if you can get a guy like him who can go in, and I think obviously they are prepared to offer major NIL packages to people, and that helps too. But NIL can be a playing field leveler, in my opinion, Dan. Not, it's something that just helps Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, but there's a lot of places that like football. There's a lot of fans and boosters that like football that are like, hey, we can pay a guy here too, and you're going to have players that are going to listen to that.
But I wonder if, I'm surprised that Florida State didn't offer him the job. Now, they might have looked at him and said, this is a lot bigger, and it's, you got to be a CEO and all of that. Deion is never embarrassed. He's a prideful guy, and he doesn't get embarrassed very often. And it feels like, these recruits bought into, I'm playing for Deion Sanders. If I'm a university, I got an opening, I reach out to Deion because those two players are going to follow Deion Sanders.
Sure. No, you know what? Next hiring cycle, somebody's hiring him, unless he wants to stay at Jackson State, which is out of the question. But, he got involved to a degree at the TCU job search, Colorado State, and didn't get either of those. But now you start getting real talent, and that talks, and yes, somebody is going to hire him. He has that personality. He has that ability to just kind of, bring people to him and bring attention to him and his program. Seems to be a pretty good coach. Went 11-2, I believe, his first year there, lost their bowl game, but still, he's done an awful lot more than I think people underestimated him, I think, as a coach, and he's made an instant impact.
Pat Forde, Sports Illustrated senior writer, joining us from Indianapolis. This whole name, image, and likeness fallout is interesting. Charlie Batch, not even the coach at Eastern Michigan, says, hey, Caleb Williams, we'll give you $1 million to play for Eastern Michigan. Now, Caleb Williams may be headed to USC, but it feels like college football is the wild, wild west, and there's nobody really governing, what you can make. Can they put a cap on this? Where are we headed with name, image, and likeness here?
I don't know. It's crazy. Yes. This is classic NCAA situation where, okay, we're going to make this rule change. We have no idea what the unintended consequences are. We have no idea what the side effects are. Oh, geez, there's a lot of them. How do we get the horse back in the barn? The horse is running all over the pasture now. I don't know how you get the horse back in the barn, but there's going to be an NCAA convention next week. And those are some of the questions you want to ask. What are the rules now? And how are they enforced? And what can you do and not do? And I'm pretty sure, according to the rules, like what Charlie Batch did is definitely a violation. You can't just say, hey, if you come here, we'll give you $1 million. Now, that's really probably what's happening behind the scenes, but I don't think you advertise that as a recruiting incentive, because that would then fall under pay for play, which the NCAA says they still don't want to do. But this whole thing is just spun so far, I think, beyond where everybody thought it may be going.
Bryce Young makes more at Alabama than Jalen Hurts does in the NFL.
That's awesome.
About $500,000 more. I think Hurts makes $800,000, and Bryce, I was told, made $1.3 million at Alabama this past year.
Yeah, he's got deals there. He has a podcast, which it's pretty funny. I actually listened to it a couple of times getting ready for this game, where Bryce says 20 words in the podcast. He's got a host who does the work, and they bring on a guest who does the talking, and Bryce kind of sits in the middle and says, "Oh, hey, thanks for coming on." Pretty good gig.
Is Caleb Williams going to USC?
Certainly seems that way. With Jackson Dart leaving as well, all of USC's quarterbacks have cleared out. The starting job is there for him to take. Lincoln Riley is there with him. They may take excellent freshman wide receiver from Oklahoma who's in the transfer portal as well, Mario Williams, and all of a sudden, I think USC reboots in a hurry and gets a lot better.
Safe travels back, Pat. Great to talk to you again, buddy.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
That's Pat Forde, Sports Illustrated senior writer. And look, I'm a big boy. I can take the heat. Got roughed up by quite a few college insiders that I had the audacity to say that maybe they're going to get this college playoff kicked off before 2025. I had people saying, "Wait, they have contracts. You can't break contracts." And I go, if you only knew my source, then you wouldn't be saying this, because contracts are meant to be broken because of money.